Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. You ready, Tyrone? You good? Scott, you ready? You good? Hey, thank you everybody for coming out to the Job Creators Network Tax Cuts Work Bus Tour. Here's the bus. You can see it. My name is Tim Jones, and I am a recovering legislator from the great state of Missouri, former Speaker of the House, and I'm here. They tapped me to help the job creators because in Missouri, I helped marshal through the first ever income tax cut in Missouri's history in 2014. So they thought I'd be a good person for the job. And we're here to celebrate the Federal Tax Cut and Jobs Act. We're here to celebrate your community, your business leaders, many of whom you're going to hear from in a minute. And, of course, we are to celebrate your very fearless Congresswoman, Claudia Tenney, who's our special guest. I have some opening remarks, then I'm going to hand it over to the real MC of the day, because he knows all of you better than I do. You'll hear from some of your small business owners and how the Federal Tax Cut and Jobs Act has helped your community. This is all about, we're here because we got this big RV, we got some attention, obviously, and we have some media, and we have all of you, so this helps give a bigger megaphone to the country. We're doing a barnstorming tour, the Job Creators Network is, all across the country. Right now, as I speak, there's another event going on in Kansas. We're going to have covered nearly 40 states by the time this finishes, along with the Congresswoman's colleagues all across the nation. Next week, we head to Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin. Speaker Ryan's coming to that event. We're very excited about that. And then back through Michigan. The Job Creators Network was founded by a once very small business owner, Home Depot co-founder Bernie Marcus, who started with one little tiny store and then built the American dream. His philosophy was the best defense against bad government is to have a well-educated public like you all. Small business owners, the backbone of the economy, the majority of the workforce of this nation, and you, their employees. There are 30 million Americans who run their own businesses. 60 million Americans work for them. That's 90 million Americans who depend on the success of small mom-and-pop businesses. They range in sizes. Some are one person, some are a couple dozen. Small businesses make up 99.9% of all businesses in the country. That's pretty much the nation. And they employ half the American workforce. It's a major part of the American electorate. Good public policy makes good politics. It's the most powerful political force in our nation. The goal is to harness this power by amplifying your voice to ensure we have good government policies that promote jobs and prosperity for all Americans. Let's talk about the tax cuts. One of the best economic policies in the last 30 years was the Federal Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which Congress passed last year with the help of Congresswoman Tenney, and which took effect this year. Job Creators Network fought harder than anyone. We were in D.C. and across the nation, pushing for this important bill to become law, to make sure that small businesses, not just the large corporations, got the benefits. When the bill was first introduced, many of those corporations pretty much took the lion's share of the benefit. We made sure Congress heard the voice of Main Street, Sherburne, New York, and that small businesses would not be left out. We made sure they had a seat at the table. We ended up helping them pass the largest tax cut in U.S. history. Those tax cuts returned billions of dollars to you, taxpayers, small businesses, employees. Millions of Americans have gotten raises. I spoke to a lot of your small business owners before we started. They said they have raised wages, increased jobs, productivity, and opportunity for everybody here in the greater Sherburne area. Millions of consumers have more money. Consumer confidence is at historic highs. There are more jobs available in this country now than we have workers. It's another issue for another day. Unemployment is now down to below 3.9%. Historic unemployment numbers. People now have full-time jobs instead of 3 or 4 part-time ones. GDP growth, the ultimate measuring stick, right? 4.1%, the strongest growth in over 8 years. Personal consumption, way up. How about those that have really been left behind? We have the lowest unemployment numbers amongst the African American black community than ever in this nation's history. More black Americans are employed now than ever in history. More Hispanic Americans are employed now than ever in our history. All of these are record lows. So that's why we're here today. Despite all the good news, a lot of Americans don't know the economy has improved so much so fast. That's because national news outlets that people rely upon, the old media, do not tell the story. We got some great local media here today, and I'm glad they're here to cover this. There's a lot of confusion about the tax cuts, and that's why we're here to clear it up. We launched this tax cut tour back in April. We're touring the country with 2 buses, making stops in over 25 states, talking to small business owners, employees, public officials, and the local media to educate America on why it's important to not only keep these tax cuts in place, but I know the Congresswoman wants to go back for more next year. Our host here today and our master of ceremonies that will take it from here on out is Jim Webb, president and founder of Lock and Logs, Inc. I can tell you, this is an A+ stop for us on the tour. Jim.
Thanks, Tim. Claudia, welcome to Lock and Logs. I'm glad you're here. I'm not going to go into all the politicians that are here. I'm going to let Bill Lacey do that. I'll tell you just a little bit about my story. My ancestors came here in 1800 in ox carts from Connecticut. And we had 4 generations back in Connecticut before that. So our roots run pretty deep. Probably a lot deeper than some of those out there. My grandkids are the 10th generation in Shenango County, and we got 11 coming up pretty soon, I think, and one of my cousin's kids. Anyway, it's pretty tough to leave those roots behind. Although I wish my ancestors had not settled in a deep blue state sometimes. And we are deep blue. Thank God we've got some people fighting to keep us light blue anyway. Yeah. Red would be nice. It's really kind of fitting that you're here, because you may not even know this, Claudia, but your brother Bob and you own the Mid-York Press, and you operate on land that used to be my grandfather's farm over across the way. He came here in 1936, and my uncle sold off part of the farm to the predecessor to Mid-York, and now Mid-York does it. I wish there was a noise pollution rule. I wish you'd work on that. They should not be able to scream 500 feet and overwhelm somebody that's here.
I agree.
Yeah, work on noise pollution. Mayor Bill, that's unfortunately it's out in the township. Tell them to turn it down, will you? They have no rights to overwhelm us with noise pollution. The signs are enough. Anyway, back to business. Lock and Logs has been in business for 43 years. We manufacture log homes and ship them all. We've shipped them all over the world. We have log homes on 4 continents and 42 of the U.S. states. We've also done 4 forts. That's what I started out doing. Fort Stanwix in Rome was one of ours. Fort Wayne, Indiana was one of ours. Fort Atkinson, Nebraska, all those were back in the 70s. Last year we did Fort King in Ocala, Florida, and we're really proud of those. So we have about 3,500 logs or commercial log homes or commercial buildings so far. It's been a rough time in the last 10 years because the housing meltdown just about destroyed our industry. Housing really took it. Alternative housing took it very hard. We've stayed alive because I sold my other business, and I've used all that money up trying to keep this from going. So anyway, what else can I tell you about the job cuts? When I first heard about the job cuts, tax cuts, job cuts, yeah, the job creation tax cuts. Thank you. See what those SOBs have done to my brain? They've taken my attention. I gotta get your tenacity, I guess, so I can do this. Anyway, I wasn't for Donald Trump in the beginning. I was for Rick Perry. He was the first one thrown out. But anyway, we quickly got behind Donald Trump and watched with great interest. And when the tax cuts were announced in December, I called my paymaster and I said, Mike, I want you to double last week's pay for everybody. except for the guys that just came on. They gave them a half a week's pay. And it was at the end of the year, and I sent a little letter along. I said, this is for two reasons. One, for the first time in 10 years, we got a little bit of black ink, but I attribute it more to our president, Donald Trump, getting the economy better. I think we're going to have a better year ahead of us. And we have. We've had a little bit better year. But in our game, it takes a lot of years sometimes to make up your mind to build a log home. Right, Diane? There's one of my fine customers and neighbors right there. So you don't do it overnight. Sometimes it takes years, so it's going to be a ripple-in effect. But anyway, that's about all I've got to report, except that, Bob, in order to do this, Claudia has agreed to build a log home. And we're going to put it up on the hill behind Mid-York Press, around my grandpa's land, and she's going to keep an eye on it. And that's the last thing he wants. Yeah. And we're going to build it big enough so it can be a presidential library. So with that, I also want to say we got water, and each one of you have to walk into that model home before you leave. Otherwise, we're confiscating your car, and we're going to make you walk out there with those guys. Okay? So now it gives me a lot of pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who's my immediate neighbor right over here, Jeff McDermott. He's a consummate entrepreneur and a hard worker, and my friend. So I'm going to let him tell his story now. Jeff McDermott.
Well, thank you, Jim. My wife and I and my son are the owners of Mobile Life Transport, LLC. Well, everybody asks, well, you're an ambulance company. No, we're not. We take them home after they're fixed. We're non-emergency transport. We started this thinking, okay, well, we're going to do this as maybe a semi-retirement position. We started about 7 years ago. We started out with one van. We said, we'll put on 5, we'll kind of float through it. Maybe our sons will have to take it over. Well, now at 25 units on the road, 35 employees, we transport a lot of people. We basically do hospital discharges 24 hours a day, and if I look tired, you're right. The phone rings at home 24 hours a day. My poor wife looks like we gained 25 years, but we smile at the end of the day. It's an honest job. As far as creating jobs, again, we started with a couple of friends that were retired state police, corrections officers, local guy on the corner, and we just grew. And today we're transporting a man to New Jersey, tomorrow to Connecticut. I've taken a lady personally that retired in Norwich down to be with her daughter in Maryland. We even take people to funerals. And what could be better than that? You know, to take care of somebody, to pay their last respects, whether they're in a stretcher, in a wheelchair, where otherwise they couldn't have gotten there. So, as far as any tax cut, I'm here to tell you, I never even heard of some of the taxes I'm taxed for today. So I guess it's all going to help. In the past year, it has helped. That little bit extra just helps our drivers. We have some people that have retired that just said, okay, I've had enough of this, I need a job. I've got some farmers that came in that just, their body doesn't work enough to get down and milk those cows anymore. You know, Charlie can relate to some of them I've got working for me. But we try to do the best we can and just go forward. So, don't know what else I can add. Pretty much, I know everybody here. They knew me as a long-haired little kid that used to pump gas uptown. So I guess that's about all I've got to say. I do see an increase in the economy. I do see the younger people starting families a little bit more than I did, or Maybe I'm just getting older and paying attention. I don't know. But, so I'm going to let you go to Mr. Purdy here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. One thing I forgot to say about the tax issue, I think the early depreciation clause there, being able to depreciate a piece of machinery or something in 1 year is just outstandingly good for business. Having to take those long depreciation years makes you think long and hard about buying a new piece of machinery if you got to depreciate over 20 years, or a building for 28 and a half. I don't know where that stands in the tax code. 38 and a half, I guess, used to be. But anyway, depreciation is something most people don't understand. I guarantee you they don't understand it down there. And it's hard for business to grow with unless you got tons and tons of cash, and no business that I know of has tons and tons of cash, except Bob Tenney. It's really hard to muster enough cash to do all that. And in our game, when we started in red ink after the housing meltdown, our bank ran away from us just like we had to play, would not loan us another dime. So I had to, I hosted an auction, sold what we didn't need, raised about $400,000 to survive. It's about 10 years ago. And have sold off things that we didn't need to keep things going. That's what entrepreneurs do. Yes, we're highly rewarded when things are looking good. We're the first ones that don't get rewarded when things are bad. My paycheck's been down to $600 a week for 10 years. Hardly enough to pay my taxes with. But anyway, don't feel sorry for me. I still feel like I'm one of the luckiest persons on the planet with where I am and what I do. I just love the shelter industry. I love working with people. Now the guys are even letting me deliver a few, and that's really a lot of fun. Okay, with that, I want to introduce another good family friend, and his wife is here because she's really the president, Vicky back there. Sandy's a big part of Jeff's business too. I keep my wife home running our little horse ranch, and keeps her out of trouble that way. Anyway, this is Dan Purdy. I'll let him tell his story. I've known him for 3 generations now too.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Claudia. Appreciate it, the opportunity. So every morning we get up into our family and we have our cup of coffee and we evaluate ourselves, right? We sit, we evaluate what we do right yesterday, what we do wrong, right? Did we pour into our children, right? Did we take care of our family, right? Am I doing things correctly in my business? Was I able to help somebody? Right? Because when it comes down to it, really, it's all about people, right? And being able to help people when they're in need, right? It's the greatest opportunity you can ever have is to help someone when there's a need to help. Because there's blessings in that for everyone. I'll give you a story. The other day, I was in Binghamton doing some business. I was coming on back. They have a bridge out Norwich, I guess. I'm sorry. And I was coming through Oxford. I see this kid on the side of the road, young man I should say, with his hood open. Everybody's passing him by. I see him really discouraged. I stop. I say, hey, what's up? He says, I need a jump. My car broke down. I fixed it, but I need a jump. I said, okay, no problem. So while I proceed to help him jump his car, I say, where are you from? He said, Oxford. I said, are you working? He says, no. He says, I just moved into the area and I really need a job. And I said, well, what do you do? What do you like to do? He says, I've got a degree in culinary arts. I said, well, guess what? I own a food company. I own a processing plant that we have fully cooked that we're developing. I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get there tomorrow. I want you to get there on time. I want you to look my manager in the eye. I want you to tell him the truth. And I said, I'm sure you'll get an opportunity. Well, a week later, he's working for me, right? So how I look at it is, okay, who was blessed in this situation, right? I was blessed. I had a position that needed to be filled. He was available. God does that stuff, right? So here we are. I've got a position that's filled. I've got a guy that's willing to work. I've got a guy that's going to do very, very well in the industry, and we're going to be able to work together and do excellent things. And that's really important. Opportunities and blessings. Forgive me for my notes. As business leaders, right? We have opportunities, right? We hire people, right? We hire people to teach them a skill, to give them a good wage, to give them purpose. The purposeless give some purpose, right? We have an employee take pride in what they do, pride in their family, pride in the community. They can take their kids out to a dinner. They can go take their kids and get clothes for school, right? They can go and invest into their future, right? Because there was an opportunity, right? Now, with no opportunities for businesses, right? What opportunities can a businessman give? When there's no opportunity, when we're under such tax burden and such red tape, right? What does it do for us? Yeah, I'd have been able to give that kid a jump, but I wouldn't have been able to give him a job.
That's right.
Over-regulation kills. Over-taxation kills. It depletes the spirit. It depletes the entrepreneurial spirit. It's what it does. So, a few years ago, there was an administration, right? They bastardized the words hope and change. They stole the truth from those great words.
Right.
And in my lifetime, I'll never look at those words the same. Never. I won't do it because of what had happened. They compromised our way of living. They compromised our community, and they compromised our country. And that's what they did. But we have great news. We have great news, right? We have Claudia Tenney, who's fighting for us every day, right? She believes our way. She sees our way. She knows our way, right? We've got the greatest tax cuts in history.
Amen. Yeah.
So far, right? We've got needless regulation wiped out,
Yes.
right? We have help in this community from every person here, right? Because we have high spirits of what's going on.
Yes.
We have getting people to work, learn a trade, be a professional, earn some money, right? And Claudia is my hero for fighting the swamp.
Woo! Yes.
She goes there every day and she has to defeat that enemy. Defeat that enemy.
That's my fan song. They follow me everywhere. Groupies. They're groupies.
And Purdy and Son Foods is a very good example of that. Last year we grew 36% over the year prior.
Oh, wow.
This year to date we're up 44%.
Oh, wow.
We've hired 16 people in 1 month. We are statewide distribution now. We have purchased a full fleet of trucks. We have invested into equipment that's going to help and keep us efficient and keep up with the demand that we have. We will soon be fully integrated from grain to fork with some partners that I have that nobody else in the state is really doing. And this is because great things are happening. We don't have the burdens of the taxes we had. We don't have the regulations that were killing us. We have a much better fighting spirit. Thank you to Claudia Tenney. And thank you to our new administration. And thank God for that. So let's go out and let's make this happen because great things are happening. And let's make it happen. Let's support Claudia. Let's support this administration. And don't let anybody defeat you.
Thank you, Dan. I think you could make a politician out of him, don't you? Wow. What a speaker, huh? Good job, Dan. And thanks for bringing him, Vic. I keep thinking of things that I should have said before, so this is good to be the MC. One of the things that I had to do was drop my health insurance. All I always said for the 50 years I've been in business, I never wanted to run a business without benefits. But for 8 of us that were on the policy, it was a $100,000 bill. That was, and we weren't making anything, so that was $100,000 that I would have had to dredge up out of selling something else. So I'm happy that you guys are working on that. We're looking at now trying to get that back on the board, so that we're back to supplying that very necessary benefit. Anyway, it also brings me a great deal of pleasure to invite and introduce Mayor Bill Acey. 3 years ago, Bill Acey came to me, and he and I have been friends, by the way, forever. He's 10 years younger than I am, but I'm better looking. And I got better hair, yeah. Anyway, he came to me and said, I played poker with these guys up at the Turning Stone, and they want to bring a meat plant to town. And I said, well, if they're not going to mess up my town, bring them on. So we started down that road 3 years ago, got our supervisor, Charlie Mastro, involved. This was All In Meats. They got planning permission to do a meat plant, and got ready to do it, and then they backed away. So with another friend of mine, Dave here, Dave was trying to find them some money, had some money for them to build a meat plant, to employ about 350 people. And they decided they were going to go somewhere else. Well, the planning permission was already granted, we thought. So we picked it up, formed Central New York Meats, and said, we'll do it. Right there on the same farm that you're on, right? And so we started down that path, and then 2 weeks later, the county planner said, you got to go back through planning permission. Okay, I said. Didn't ask to see where that really happened. But then some of my ex-friends got a hair up and decided to fight it. That's why you see signs in town that say, no meat plant. Anyway, to make a long story short, we're about 2 weeks away from bringing a very successful meat company to this town, and Dan's working on one as well on a smaller scale. So, in case you didn't know it, 90% of New York State meat is butchered in Pennsylvania. Think of the job loss and the revenue loss from that alone, and think of the stress on those poor animals. We're working on that. Have been working on it hard for 2 years. Hope to bring it to fruition very, very shortly. And Bill's the one that started it all, and Bill has been working on economic development. He's a part-time guy. He's a part-time guy, but he's been working hard on economic development, and I really admire him for doing that. So, Bill, get up here and tell your story, eh?
Thanks, Jim. I've got a few prepared remarks, so bear with me. First of all, I want to thank Mother Nature for holding off.
Amen.
That's good. And thank Tim, Job Creator Network. Thanks to Jim Webb for hosting this event, and a special welcome to Congresswoman Tenney. And a very special welcome to all of you who run businesses, and for taking the time out of your busy days to be here, because I know it's difficult to run a business, and this is an important issue, the taxes. Over the years, there's been a lot of talk about reforming the tax code to help working families and businesses. President Trump finally got it done. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act was signed by the President December 22nd, 2017. Its effects are already being felt. These tax cuts will make it easier for families and businesses to thrive and grow in the United States. They are increasing wages and increasing our overall employment numbers. Consumer confidence is at a 17-year high, and I would agree with Dan. People are confident. People are willing to take risk again. People are looking at houses. Our young people are out shopping for houses. We had every house under $200,000 sell in Sherburne this summer. Unheard of. Some of the highlights of the tax cut and jobs bill I like. are the doubling of the standard deduction on personal income taxes. It went from $12,007 to $24,000. Lowering tax rates on middle-income working folks by about 3%. And this is one of my favorite ones. The child credit for children. It went from $1,000 to $2,000. So for everyone, they get a $1,000 raise for every child they have. And that's real money that hardworking Americans who've been struggling to raise a family can use to pay for groceries or any of the many expenses that face working families. Families have been penalized under the old code. Families were struggling, and work replaced by government programs, and I would dare say that some of our drug problems are due to idleness. So the tax cuts are getting people back to work and may even help reduce our drug problem. Idleness is not good. People need to work, and people are meant to work. And the tax code hurt people getting to work. The new code will provide welcome relief and strengthen our communities. The corporate tax rate was changed from the highest rate of 35% to a flat 21%. Corporations are returning money back to the United States, and while they're taking a one-time tax hit, and President Trump recently said in Utica, but that money goes to our treasury, which is good. So we got a double bump. They'll ultimately create jobs here in the United States, and they'll improve our lagging economy, and our treasury got a tax bump. So the guy's not stupid. And finally, this one hits close to home. Removal of the individual mandate to buy health insurance, which hurt those who could least afford to pay the tax penalty. I say it hits close to home because I've sold health insurance for about 30 years. And many contractors who couldn't afford to pay for Obamacare health insurance would tell me, you mean I'm going to be penalized for not buying insurance? When they couldn't buy it because they couldn't afford it. And now they're going to be taxed and penalized because they can't afford to buy health insurance. And they couldn't afford Obamacare either. So that was repealed in this tax bill. So that's a good thing. And that whole program was nuts. So in summary, I gotta steal a little bit of Dan's thunder and go back to that and say, now with this tax cut and jobs bill, that's real hope and change. We're starting to get some things done. And I'm going to be brief, but I'll wrap up by saying that some would argue the recovery was beginning without the cuts. But prior to the cuts, economic growth was estimated to be 2.2%. It is now on pace for an annualized 4.1%, almost done. And this growth will ultimately reduce our deficit, but more importantly, manufacturing jobs are returning to the United States. Over 600,000 manufacturing jobs have been created these past 2 years. And again, President Trump said Monday in Utica, these are real jobs. These are things that are manufactured now in the United States. So instead of us sending our money overseas, companies leaving the money overseas because they were afraid to bring it here, are now bringing the money back, but they're also manufacturing things here that we're buying and using in our own country, which is a good thing. And it was just nuts that all this money was going overseas and the jobs and the manufacturing were overseas and we were buying it from other countries. So again, thank you all for taking the time to be here today. I know how hard it is to run a business these days, and I'm especially pleased that Sherburne was chosen to award Congresswoman Tenney this award. She has truly been a champion all along for the tax cuts, and she's been a strong supporter of President Trump. And we need a Republican majority in the Congress again, and we need to get it done. And I shudder to think what the next 2 years will be like if we don't. So I would urge you to get out and vote. Have your grandparents get out and vote. Have your 18-year-old children registered and get them out to vote, and get out and vote in this election. Elections do have consequences. This one is important, and thank you again for being here.
What a mayor, huh? I'll tell you what, he's a lot smarter than he looks. Bob, would you come up here, please? I want you to introduce your sister, because you know her much better than I do. Yeah, you better do something right, anyway. Like I told you, Bob's business sits on the same, almost identical foundation as my grandfather's barn. And they were milking cows there. My dad milked cows night and morning and went to school back in the 30s on the same location. So they're bonded by that particular piece of real estate. So please introduce your sister.
I do have to apologize for Jim because neither one of us should be allowed to have a microphone for more than 3 or 4 minutes. But thank you for hosting this, Jim. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care where you're from or what you do. But I've known her, as you know, her entire life. And I will tell you that she works from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week, all for our district and for our people. And it is my pleasure to introduce my sister, our Congresswoman Claudia Tenney.
Thank you so much, and I really have to tell you that it's such an honor to actually be in Sherburne, where our family business is, where Bob's running our business and doing a really great job. And it's people always ask me, like, what are you doing in Sherburne, and where's Sherburne? And I said, you know what, I can't believe we're getting this award in Sherburne, New York, and putting it on the map, because I remember when our family business actually started in Norwich and Hamilton, and we consolidated in Sherburne around 1980. And that's where Bob and I actually shared an apartment together, believe it or not. I was a Colgate student, and he had just graduated from Syracuse, and it was you know, getting back in with your brother and living under the same roof is not an easy task. So, but we, you know, we've worked together. Our business has been rough. I mean, there's been a lot of hard times living in New York State, and as many of you know, the Mid-York Weekly was founded by our grandfather. And it was originally the Mid-York Weekly and the Mid-York Press. We added the Penny Saver later up in the northern end. This is Dick Snyder's world down here. And I ran the division of the Mid-York Weekly for a while and the Mid-York the Penny Saver. And I thought I knew a lot as a lawyer and representing our company, representing a lot of people. But you don't learn anything until you've run a business in a poor economy and tried to make it, try to make payroll, try to deal with government regulations and taxes, in probably the most difficult state in the nation to do business. I mean, this is, you know, we might be in Sherburne, but you're standing among heroes in our community, people who are care about their families, are keeping their business going under the regime of a very aggressive, and I'm going to say it, I was in the state assembly for 6 years, a socialist, corrupt government in Albany. And it just, you can't help but watch $8 billion a year being spent by Andrew Cuomo, spent on these cronyism schemes, money being handed out to these big corporations at the expense of our small business owners, our family farms, and watching our taxes go up, our property taxes increase. And I want to thank Jim, I mean, for being in the business of real estate and creating homes for people and shelter, which he described. This is really important because now that we have the tax cuts, now that we are actually creating jobs and we're creating an environment to give us some vibrancy and some dynamism in our communities, we need to continue to do that. We need to continue to roll back regulations. We need to continue to give New York a fighting chance, because I'm sure that Tim, as he travels around, I don't know where he went, but as Tim travels around the country, we're seeing it here. We see consumer confidence. We see it better. But let me tell you something. Our economy is roaring, and it's roaring stronger everywhere else but in New York State. And we need to change that. We need to make sure that we continue these tax cuts, make the personal side permanent. It's really important. And to continue to fight for our manufacturing community and our businesses, our farmers, everyone who, whether it doesn't actually matter if you're in manufacturing. If you're running a pizza shop or a small store, or any kind of business, any retail operation, you need the help. And New York State has been in your way. They have made it very difficult. That's why we have the largest outmigration of people and jobs than any other state in the country. And we're starting to see a glimmer of hope thanks to some of the policies of our president and also the tax cuts. I was a little leery of the tax cuts, to be honest with you, in the beginning, because we have this oppressive thing. It's a lifeline to wealthy people. It's known as the state and local tax deduction. And although Governor Cuomo is suing the federal government now over the state and local tax deduction, we do have very high property taxes in our communities. And I fought with our Ways and Means chair and advocated and had a lot of people on the phone with them to say, I can't vote for this unless we give at least some exemption, especially for our lower and middle class taxpayers. And that was preserved. And Mayor Acey mentioned some of the other really good things in there, the child care credit. I can relate to that. We all care about our families. we're here. Our family business was started here. We were both born, Bob and I, and our whole family here. We want to stay here, but I'll tell you, there's days when this environment is tough. When you have the highest taxes, you have a three-tiered kooky minimum wage that the governor came up with that makes it really confusing for the rest of the state. When you see the high property taxes, the second highest energy costs in the nation, this little glimmer of hope known as the tax cuts is going to help bring us back. And it is happening, and we're seeing it coming, but we just need to continue to fight for that growth. Just in our community, and I want to just give a little credit to Jim Webb for being one of the first people to write to me and say, thank you for these tax cuts, it's really working for us. Numerous other businesses around the region have done it. I've toured or spoken with or done roundtables with over 100 businesses throughout this community, NY22, and every single one of them has said great things about the tax cuts. In fact, I can't find anyone who is not happy about the tax cuts who's in business, because all of them have talked about either giving raises, bonuses, buying new equipment, having the confidence to reinvest, which you heard from some of our entrepreneurs here. And that's really good news for us. And you know, if we lose this election, we're going to have socialism, which is probably Colgate professors and things like that back there. I went to Colgate. I can speak with authority on that. Casanova, Hamilton, you know, they don't know what it's like to make a payroll. They don't know what it's like to fight every day, even whether you're a business owner or a small dairy farmer. And I look at and I see them, you know, talking about abolishing ICE and raising taxes, and that's their solution to everything. And socialism is the problem, and it's something we've been fighting in New York, and we know it all too well. So I just want to say congratulations to, I don't want to talk too long, but I want to say congratulations to all the businesses that are getting the confidence they need to continue to grow. We're going to fight to the bitter end. It's going to be an ugly battle this year. You've already seen, I mean, I think many of you have heard, or you may know, I am the biggest underdog in the House of Representatives right now. I have had more money spent against me than I've had to defend in 2016. My opponents had $16 million, and I ended up with about $3 million. But let me tell you something, I had about $200,000 from December 2015 until October of 2016. So I was really on a really limited budget trying to make my case and trying to be a small business owner, you know, a working mom, and all those things just to try to get my message out. And they're afraid, and that's why they're here. They're afraid that they're going to lose, and we're going to continue to see growth in this region, and they're not going to have power and control over our citizens, over our middle class, over all of our job creators. And I think that's you got to love them. But I invite you all to come and actually, I think this is awesome, because this shows you what we're up against. These people are fighting hard against us. We're going to win this year. It's not going to be pretty. When you watch the horrible ads coming out on TV, make sure you understand what's going on out there. Know the truth. Look it up. It's our obligation. We have a tough community now. I was in the newspaper business. You know, we owned a newspaper. We know what fake news is. We fought the newspaper every single day. And I have to be honest with you, I look at the Observer-Dispatch, which is the newspaper in my hometown, and I don't think they're biased. They are literally a propaganda sheet for my opponent. Wait till there's breaking news, some things will come out and you'll find out. But they're against all of us. It's not just me, it's what I represent, it's you. There's something wrong with you. If you're a business owner, or you're conservative, or you're small, you care about your communities, there's something, it's not just that they disagree. Remember, we used to be able to respectfully disagree? You're wrong, you need to be stopped, and you need to be silenced, and that's what they're trying to do. Don't be bullied. Don't let them bully you. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And so, for me, I just am so excited that everyone is doing well with tax cuts. We're going to try to work on that. We're going to try to continue to roll back the regulations. We're up against a diabolical governor who's making it really difficult for all of us. Later today, there is an event for Mark Molinaro, who's our candidate. He's a Westchester County executive who's running for governor. If any of you can stop up to Utica and give him some support, we need to get rid of this governor. It is essential that if we have any hope. So, yes, Cuomo has got to go. Not only is he just economically illiterate, and you've heard me say that, he is so corrupt. He is just corrupt, and that's not who we are. We are a good community of people who care about our fellow citizens. And we support you, and I'm going to continue to fight the fight. And I want you all to come, and I could tell you all the information on tax reform, but I think a lot of you know it, and a lot of you have explained it. But I encourage you again to get out to vote, and I also encourage you to just make sure that you continue to do what you do, hire the people you need to hire, come to us, ask us where you need help, where there's an issue, a law we can change. There's some things in the tax cuts that we're going to try to fix. But there's great things this president is doing, and no matter what they do and what they say, and yes, he does say things that I wish he wouldn't say, but we have to judge him on his performance, and his performance has been unprecedented in a very, very difficult environment. And so we need to fight that fight. So I just want to say thank you to all of you, especially the hosts here today, and tell you all, just come to see us in Washington. Come and visit. I'll take you on my dynamic tour of the Capitol, which our Mayor AC has had a few times. And if you want to meet a member of Congress who you might like, let me know. I know the mayor, he's Lebanese, and he liked Darrell Issa, who's one of my closest friends in Congress, who unfortunately is retiring. But he said, "Can I meet Darrell Issa?" So I said, "Wait right here." And I went into the chamber. I said, "Darrell, I got a Lebanese mayor. Get out here." And he came out, and it was so great. And the two of them got talking about, which city is your father from, and where are you from? And yeah, I took their picture. But it's just terrific. And also another thing, and I'm hoping. So please, if you have to write letters to the White House, it was a tremendous honor to welcome our president to our region for the first time in Utica. Some of you who are from Binghamton have had other presidents visit, but we haven't had a sitting U.S. president in Utica, New York since 1948. So we were a powerhouse once. This is where the Industrial Revolution was started. We've lost a lot of that because of what's gone on in several decades of progressive liberal policies that have really hurt our business community.
2 generations of Cuomo.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, well, we had some Patakis in the middle, but and Spitzer, Patterson. But anyway, I encourage you to come out, visit us, ask us. We're here. I do work every day. It's an honor and privilege to serve in this position. I really want to fight for our community. I'm not afraid to stand up. And I encourage you, though, to really just tell us what we need to do, where we're missing. Help us out. We want to get there. I don't mind. Look, my parents have passed away. My son is, as you saw, is an active duty Marine. He's doing great on his own. So the only person really suffering in all this is my dog, who never gets to see me, very little. So I love it, though. It's an honor. It's a struggle, and after a while, they get to be fun. Believe it or not, I know it's hard to take when you first encounter them, but I think they're showing us how good we really are and how good we're doing. So again, I just want to say thank you to Tim, and I'll hand it back over to you. Congratulations to all of you on this great work, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Congresswoman, stay right here. We have a little something for you. I want to thank the Congresswoman, our hosts, all of our speakers. You all did a great job. Thank you for welcoming us here today. Thank you. You have a great community. So we've been touring the country, and I'll tell you quick. So we've had some really creative people show up. So Congressman Brott down in Virginia. We had Dave Bratt. I thought of Brott because we had a protester show up in a hot dog suit. So we let him stay. We thought that was clever. In Iowa, in Waterloo, Iowa, we had a car driving around with a giant chicken on top. I don't even know what that was about. I don't know what that's about. Purdue. And then they left. And then we had the big Trump bobblehead here today. So that was cool. That was great. I should have also said it's great to be back in New York. I lived here for 10 years, downstate. I went to Fordham U in St. John's Law, so it's going to be back here. They had that proposal in California, right, to divide it in 3 states. It almost got in the ballot. I bet you all wish you could cut off things just south of White Plains, right? So, yeah. And up here, this is just like Missouri. It's great to be in upstate New York. It really is, with a lot of good people, a lot of great Congress people as well. We do have an award for you for everything you've done, everything you will do. It's an award not just to the Congresswoman, but to all of you as a community. You should be very proud of this. The Job Creators Network is very happy to award the Congresswoman the Job Creators Network Defender of Small Business Award. Yeah. Two last things. I would love everybody to get up here who would like to be in the photo. We want to show, this is it's hard to get people like you who are working to show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday. So we want to show the nation how many people showed up for your Congresswoman. So come up here in front of the bus and, come up in front of the bus with your Congresswoman. We're going to take a big group shot. And finally, Y'all have phones, I know. Text tax cuts work to 52886. Text, and you'll follow our tour around the country. So everybody get up here. Everybody get up here. Men, women, children, dogs. Short guys like me in front. Yeah. Here, I'm going to get out of here in a minute. I want you all to come on in. There is a sign, yes. Y'all gather in. Y'all gather in. Out there on the side. Y'all gather in. Okay, everybody look at Scott's big lens. Look at Scott has a big lens. Look at that big lens.
Fantastic.
Everybody good? Yeah, if we just have the small business owners who spoke. Let me get out of the way.
Make sure you check out the log home.
Yep, check out the log home before you leave. It's pretty cool. Yeah, all the. I have a radio show. All the small business owners, any small business owners from the community, please come up. Scott's going to arrange you here. All the small business owners, big, small, medium. NFIB members, yes.
Right here? One turn more Tenney. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes our event. Really appreciate it. Come take a look at the log home.